Okay, so you want us to go ahead?
Yes. Yes.
We welcome you to the festival.
Bronwyn, could I ask you 2 seconds?
Yes, no worries.
Welcome to the session, which will the theme of multilingualism and creativity and voice community. And we have here the respondent.
I don't know what to say, but I'm looking forward to this conversation.
To you, Bronwyn.
Okay, so greetings everyone in the room. I hope you had a nice time this afternoon already and this morning.
Just make sure that we're fully audible.
Can everyone hear us clearly?
Okay.
Okay, so I think we'll go ahead. I don't think we're gonna switch on our cameras, but just know that we are actual human beings with you today. So good afternoon once again to everyone. I want to take this time to say thank you to the Wits Writing Festival team for inviting us to be at such a powerful and profoundly beautiful event. I am Bronwyn February. I'm a youth activist, martial artist, and also creative that really just uses art as a medium to communicate certain issues. In my community, my work is really just centering the idea of violence, the building of identity, and what that means, especially for people navigating gangsterism in Cape Town. I've been part of this amazing project with the artist Stoic, which I will allow to introduce himself right now before we say anything further.
Good afternoon, everyone. Also, thank you to the Wits Writing Festival team for inviting us to be part of this event. As Bronwyn said, my name is Pejamauro, Visagie, also known as Stoic, spelled Stoik. I'm a master student currently of the sociolinguistics of hip-hop, studying hip-hop both as a cultural practice and as a method of inquiry. But importantly, for this purpose here today, I'm also a native of hip-hop culture by the practice of artistic activism in rap music.
Yeah. So before we do anything, or before we even show you the video, or maybe just give a brief analysis of what we've tried to imagine through the pieces of Khoi Kemati and Khoi Kolonialist, I really want us to think of a song that taught us something. Just have a moment to quickly just sit and reflect. I know some of us are checking our phones or just sitting in the room. No offense to anyone, but just like, let's just think about that one song that stood out for us and that taught us something. I don't know, I would invite a response from anyone. What song comes to mind?
A specific song that reveals something to you about your world or about yourself.
Okay, we have one hand. God, yeah.
Hello?
Lovely.
One day I lie awake, and it's about for me it's about the state of mind, and the experience.
Lovely, 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 lovely. Is there anyone else that wants to share? Lovely.
Would be I refer friend to change times. It
Wow.
speaks about the world and our position and how we best adapt to change, but also not forgetting our aspirations.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. If there's a burning heart, I think we can have another response. I see someone has a mic.
Just a response now by a young woman I just recently met. She sings in Mosul, and she says, Lengulo, I hope this Ingulo, what is it? Yeah, I find the beginning of that song. This it's like a blanket or yes, medicine. It doesn't keep the light.
Lovely, yeah, lovely. Last response.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with a hip-hop artist. So there's a song from his 15th album titled Drunk. So there's a song called Moments. So that song he speaks about life moments moments. So for me, I thought maybe that was very profound. Indeed, life is about moments, whether we choose to enjoy or not to. But we're all in the moment. Yesterday. And goes.
Thank you very much. I think all of us had such unique responses because all of our experiences really helps us gravitate to certain music and forms of art that really helps us articulate what we want to imagine and what we want to experience in the world. And I think for me as a young person, navigating organizational space, organizing spaces, mobilizing, especially engaging with young people on a regular, that would be Lauren Hill, Mystery of Inequity, where she really just speaks about how the system in general was made to serve certain people, but how we as young people, through forms of education, whether that is through poetry, through art, in any form or way, can express ourselves and find a way to really just escape the realities of the world, and also as a form to mobilize people. That stands out for me. Before we showcase the video, we just want to make sure that everyone understands it from a perspective of from the intentions of the artist, of course, which is stoic, but then also the visual storytelling that also goes along with the words, the beat, the rhythm, and how we use certain sites in the Cape Town areas and in the George Eden district to communicate a particular message around Khoi people, indigenous people, marginalized people having to stand together with one voice in making sure that we communicate education. And education here, it's not just about being at a university, but like finding different ways to educate through hip hop. At its root of what it is, trying to make sure people understand everyday things in our society and going above the norms. I think we explicitly wanted to position the session as a way to talk about the culture industry and what that looks like under capitalism, and what that means for hip hop, and how we take it back as a form of education and as a form of resistance. I think because Pejamauro Stoic's work is more aligned with that, you will just ground us in that, and then we'll take it further by showcasing the videos, have a respondent, and have a few dialogues about that.
Yeah, thank you, Bronwyn. Bronwyn didn't ask me about what my preferred song is. There's a song by J. Cole whose name I keep forgetting, but there's a line that he reiterates in where he says, "Everybody dies, but not everybody lives." So in essence, if you imagine, imagine this phenomena that happened, like take the song itself and the phenomena that you experience while reflecting on the song, or even the reflection that the song made you go through. If this itself could be a form of research in itself, that's the viewpoint that we're trying to speak from today. Our presentation explores hip-hop, or tries to explore hip-hop as a site of research in itself, a way of co-constructed knowledge production, and not merely as an object of scholarly academia. So because hip-hop in its languages and the way that it remixes and in its mere defiance already theorizes the world. So in that spirit, we will obviously be premiering 2 of our music videos by myself, Stoic. One would be titled Khoi Kemati, the other one is titled Khoi Kolonialist. These both are obviously served as evidence of how we try to position hip hop and rap music as sites of and methods of research in itself. So my research in the sociolinguistics of hip hop, if I could summarize it in one line, I would summarize it as this. It would be research by hip hop, practice, production, and performance, the generation of knowledge in ways that scholarly theory alone cannot fully comprehend. So to ground us, my thesis serves to ask this question: how does localized hip hop in South Africa, particularly in the Western Cape, perform agency and resiliency through the semiotic act of remixing or sampling? So in essence, when it comes to the academic side of it, this process serves to draw on principles of symbolic interactionism, critical theory, as well as action theory in order to show how rap artists are able to fabulate alternative futures of transformation by the use of language, rhythm, and performance. In essence, we don't treat hip hop just as a data set to be interpreted about communities, but as the community interpreting itself. So the work therefore belongs to what I would call the sociolinguistics of creativity, or the sociolinguistics of creation. This is where hip hop itself, or creative practice, is a method, and where sound, movement, and visual media become modes of knowledge production. So just for a quick orientation behind the project of Khoi Kemati and Khoi Kolonialist as well. The sociolinguistics of hip hop research that I've been conducting research in the Western Cape, specifically in the Eden municipality. And in this project, the central questions are about agency, remixing, and the means by which local artists employ rap music as a performance of resiliency. From a methodological point of view, I've combined the sociolinguistics with participant production and research in practice. This is where phenomena such as studio recording sessions, lyrical analysis, and audience encounters become central to the production of research itself. Therefore, the core themes that we intend to focus on throughout the music videos were agency, remediation, and knowledge of self and performativity of contemporary discourses in alignment with historical discourses.
Yeah, so I don't know if we maybe want to get feedback based on what Pejamauro just mentioned before we just showcase the video, and then we can just have dialogue. But I think what is important out of both videos is that there's communication about wanting to take a stance in our communities, wanting to use hip hop as a medium of resistance, making sure, especially young people, understand hip hop as a form of education and not just as a form of entertainment. Anything that anyone want to say or mention before we continue?
I just noted a very imminent something or a very important thing when you speak about hip-hop as words of resistance, reflecting our society. And I really thought about ingoma of being sangoma, ukoma, that comes with our ancestors. Song has been an agency of healing, of changing status quo from whatever it's actually song for evolution and revolution. So music in all its genres, it always tells our story. So
Yeah.
we are people of Ingoma.
Thanks for the word, sister. PJ, over to you.
Yeah, and in Goma, in chant, to respond to that, also in the context of hip hop, the rapper itself, we were watching a documentary recently to also just have background in terms of how to structure ourselves. One of the journalists or the interviewees in the documentary reiterated that the rapper or the MC is not just an entertainer, an entertainer, but it's the word MC or the acronym MC ought to stand for a mediator of the celestial, someone that filters down God's message to us. So, if I may continue, with this approach, our central endeavor was to give more autonomy or authentic autonomy, if I may say so, to artists in the production of art. Especially when it comes to the relationship between academia or academics and artists, when it comes to the research of art being done, where Jean-Paul Sartre called it the research gaze. So that is something that we are trying to counteract. So in that framework, the central corrective would be this. What if hip-hop is given the role of researcher? Meaning this would we take the practices of hip-hop, the production of music, remixing of archives, the performance of scripts as methods that generate knowledge autonomously in both academic and artistic practices. This would be embodied by fieldwork in studio spaces as well as street ciphers, lyrical analysis, and intertwined with participant observation, where the participants would be audiences as well as artists, as well as interviews that would later be transformed into artistic collaborations, all in the process of art as research. Yes. So we essentially rely on the method of hippopography. This is a methodology in ethnography that came to me throughout research conduct. It's a methodology introduced by Professor James Spady, which tries to assert hip-hop narratives as autonomous oral historiography and performance as authentic living archives. To claim hip-hop as a site of research is then to flip the research gaze. This means that our beats, our verses, our visuals are not just illustrations of theory, but they fundamentally are practicable theory.
So I'm going to showcase the videos right now. And we really, some of the verses are in Afrikaans, so in Afrikaans, hip-hop language. We will go, we want you to take note of like the certain lines in the scene. So maybe when we do a Q&A discussion, we can directly go to that particular point and then maybe engage with it. So we first going to showcase Khoi Kolonialist. And I think we've released it 8 months ago in the beginning of the year. And it really just tells a story about how we stand together, make sure that we resist any form of colonialism in our everyday. And like both the videos have been shot by both myself and Pejamauro. We've directed and curated the story, and now we want to narrate it. And we really just see it as a form of defiance.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I may add on, I would like to, if you watch the video, just to pay attention to 3 things that we try to emphasize, which is shifts across different languages, the fusion of ancient heritage with contemporary textures, as well as how performance becomes dialogic with history.
Yeah. Okay, you can just let me know if you can still hear the sound, but it should be playing.
It's the supreme mathematics. We are only 5.
Josh, are you guys good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Centers. I am infectious like colonial settlers. I feel like chesters, niggas hanging headless. Anubis in my yo, soul in the afters. I resurrect the spirit of you in Newton for restitution. You know the devil, rebuke him and the constitution. For evolution, some of us we had to die if we divide. So stand by my side, don't scatter and hide. I have yet to witness the sanity and vanity. There is no man in me if I don't show love to my enemy. Got to know, not believe. I see devils in the skies like the atom of Eve. And when I leave like a capital what do I leave behind? My mind of all the time, no child left behind. Free your mind, the system was designed to mislead the blind. Living like I'm only alive from 9 to 5. I've been around the universe and back, you know we never die, but we divide. We no longer multiply, the limit is the sky. How are we gonna survive? Living like I'm only alive from 9 to 5. I've been around the universe and back, you know we never die, but we divide. We no longer multiply, the limit is the sky. How are we gonna survive? When I return with the blood of Dubois and Garvey, with the scepter of voice for the mentally starving, you'll be feeling the karma come like Jeffrey Dahmer. How do you plan to stay ahead of the headhunter? The Khoi san too, better takus for the Khoi san spot you. And nowadays we carry guns a lot too. So what you gonna do when the Khoi san hunt you? This is for the liberty that live within me, defended from a friend of me that live within me. I can never be dependent on a friend of me, frankly, that's friendly with the enemy and ethically empty. So we march to the enemy's camp and then we took back, never looking back to the green of pastures, because we're taken back from colonial settlers. And when they did die, no life in the after's a natural disaster. Living like I'm only alive from 9 to 5. I've been around the universe and back, you know we never die, but we divide. We no longer multiply, the limit is the sky. How are we gonna survive? Living like I'm only alive from 9 to 5. I've been around the universe and back, you know we never die, but we divide. We no longer multiply, the limit is the sky. How are we gonna survive?
Next one.
Van hele vallei, hoor wat ek te sê het. 'n Vol van vol kan nog steeds nie met 'n play rappie. Maar ek het dis demi god, ek gaan nie freakie, ek hou nie met bekkie, dan jy se la nie jy vir sekkie. Veg dis 'n geveg, jy 'n koning of knegt, nou jou reg want jy beweeg in die verkeerde baan. As reg of vecht lyk te pap om jou man te staan. Woes die diere dwaal onder die wierlig van die volle maan. En om me staan saam met die band toe in die Khoi saam. Honde gaan aan, honde ook of in 'n Khoi slaap. Vol van dans, onder die noodlot van katte kwaad. So vat my raad, want te veel van ons wat zat gemaakt. Inderdaad, dat zal ik jou niet baat. Want voor die magistraat, maak je straat en vir jou saakie. Dink nog ons is vaak, maar die is dieren wat die slaapie. Die zijn makers Gavi met de radicale army. Nieuwe wereldoorlog, guerrilla unit voor de monen. Voor de monen wat verloor nog. Nieuwe wereldoorlog, het zijn insane. Ach, shame, hij in de fooi toch. Zo ik wat hier, soos die dan Kemati. Je lekker my nie stapie. Je kom met dan onaki, sta my naf en kamikaze. Ons raak je siek en sati. Sê dit vir die is dieren wat die slaapie. Sida, kerat, swat. Sida, kerat, swat. Praat die taal van ook een buismeid, van die moet sy je lijn kyk. Blindelinge so'ne oogtanden van my lijne byt. Maar die is aster, en hoe my sy ruim klets. Vir julle fake rapes, ek bewys net, die is my plek. Die Suid-Kaap en Cape Flats, even as die note te hoog is, moet ek uitstep. Demons wat nie boone met toog is, die is ruim klets ondergrond. In die kraal staan die onder Hankas. Is maar net die vierde kabinet in die Hankas. Ik kom mij hastig, wanneer het is aandachtig. Nieuwe wereldoorlog, Gorilla Unit voor de monen. Voor de monen wat verloor nog. Nieuwe wereldoorlog, het zijn insane. Ach, shame, hij in de fooi toch. Zo ik het hier, zo die dan Kemati. Je laat mij niet stappen, je komt met Anunnaki. Sta mij af en kamikaze, os raak je ziek en sati. Zeg dat via die is dieren wat die slaapie.
Okay. Lovely, 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 lovely. I don't know. Do we want to go ahead with the respondent? Do you want us to? Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Yes.
So yeah, those were the two music videos that we've been working on since last year. Khoi Kolonialist, the first one, was released 8 months ago. We worked a total of 4 days on the first music video. It was just us trying to see how we can, what the best quality of our work can be with no budget at all, and just a team of the two of us and one iPhone 16 or 15.
Yeah.
That's all that we had access to. And the same with the second music video, but with the same no budget and no other team members and resources. It took us, since we learned a few things from the first video. It took a little bit of time to study the intricacies and the resources. We used 3 different apps, which is basic apps: InShot and CapCut and iMagic. But essentially, as you could see, the emphasis on not research about hip-hop, but research by hip-hop. If you could see the multimodality, for those of you who are able to understand language, you could see the references, and as well as, in addition to the visual elements, there's the book of Patrick Maley, The Lie of 1655, 1652, apologies. The scenery within the Castle of Good Hope, which is the slave castle where Khoi's ancestors were locked up, held in chains, and tortured. There's certain scenes where I'm captured in a guillotine. So yeah, this is not merely about entertainment. Art for us it's an experiment in decolonial sound, hip-hop serving as an epistemology itself. Yeah.
Okay. Any engagements? Do we have the respondent that's ready? There we go.
Just click it in. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it goes. Thank you for the offering. You know, in hip hop, it's always so hip hop and music videos. There's a common trope that's always in the series of images, from visual images. For instance, the graffiti, skateboarding, the hair, texture of hair associated with blackness, tattooing, the slums, and I enjoyed those. So yeah, I was saying I enjoyed all those iterations, and I see the communication of, you know, the lived experiences of people who, you know, who were dispossessed, and creating something out of that space of dispossession. And I'm thinking of the invocation of the language, the colonialist. So you see that I saw the subversion in in there. And I saw the the language in which you are trying to shift the narrative of of someone who has a history of something being taken away, but subverting it into something of resistance, or something that, yeah, there's reimagining agency back. And I connected that with the still image of the lives of 1652, and I appreciated that, those series of events, and I see that hip hop is never art. It's one thing about art is that it demands us to think with it. So it's never something that is just on a surface level, and from the list of 2 videos, that's what I appreciated mostly. And yeah, thank you very much for that, because
Wow, one thing about art, it demands us to think of it, and that's exactly what we tried to do. Thank you.
I just pressed it in one.
Hi. Oh, okay. Siyabulela. Sithi mawande. I'm listening with my heart. I'm seeing with my heart. The imagery, I could see my ancestors there. I could see the imagery of the Ankh. How you have become the agents of reclaiming not only language, but what our gentleman, what's your name again? So Butu has spoken about disposition. It's a disposition, it's a distortion of our minds and body, which ultimately became traumas. And your work, I see, as that agency, a tool of saying it wasn't like that. Everything that you see, you were led to your blindness. So we became blind in a way to our truth, our ancestry, our evolution and revolution. And the imagery, the juxtaposition of the now and then, how you have matched it, it tells us that story of saying, wake up, we need to revolutionize and be human once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For gifting us with this beautiful piece of work that is evoked questions that I've never thought I ever thought about ever. I don't have any background or understanding or interest of hip hop. And the images that Ubuntu is talking about, I don't understand what you're talking about. So I'm here to learn. But for me, I have a question of why did you choose the genre hip hop? Because my understanding of hip hop is not your understanding of hip hop. And I like the fact that you are linking it to research. However, I've always linked hip hop to violence, to destruction, to drugs, to gangsters, and the choosing of the genre itself, for me, it's evoking fear. It's evoking Julius Malema killed the Boer. So I am a bit, I would like to understand more why the genre hip hop and learn today about hip hop more and your understanding of why exactly did you choose the genre as a way that you want to portray a message to the world.
Thank you. I appreciate that question also, sincerely. That could be a whole half an hour discussion on its own, but for as simple as possible. I would especially love to address the fact that as a listener or a secondary listener of hip hop, it provokes a sense of fear in you and why it does that. If you understand the context of where hip hop originated, not just the way it originated, but the global spaces or the global locales where hip hop finds itself to be localized. It is environments of adversity and marginalization. The documentary that I was referring to earlier, one of the MCs highlighted how they were in communities where they didn't have the means nor the space for musical instruments in an era of jazz music and soul. So their only way was to create their own instruments. Literally, the quote from nothing into something, or something from nothing. So from that, if you understand that environment that gave a means of expression and articulation from innovation and creativity to young people, youth in the 1980s, in the late 1980s. You understand that environment of pressure, structural pressure, and hip hop was led, even still today. There's a gender ratio in unequal gender ratio in the representation in hip hop. So it's led by masculine figures. So to bring it synchronically, masculinity in the context of adversity and marginality, in addition to not having means of expression and being explicitly silenced, would necessarily come down to something that seems aggressive when it tries to be assertive and expressive. And that is why hip hop provokes fear in those who come to meet it from a secondary point of view. But it is, when it comes to music and art forms, why I chose it. I started off first and foremost, as a musician, I started off in a brigade playing drums. Then I moved on to playing brass instruments, trombone, went on to the South Cape Symphony Orchestra. So that's my professional musical background. I chose hip hop, not just any other element of hip hop, but rapping, because I sought a means of verbal articulation. I had a message in my heart and in my mind. Like I said earlier, an MC, a mediator of the celestial. I needed to be a medium for my ancestors and my God to articulate itself to this modern society by any means necessary, in Malcolm X's word. And Malcolm X also is one of the people that is very, very much loved by all hip hop. Hope that answers your question.
Hi, Bronwyn. Hi, Tato. I'm Tando. Don't know if you can see me all the way from the back. But
Yes,
yeah, my question is around your model with the work that you're doing from a business sense. I see you struggling with your bottom line around resources and the sort of material and tools that you need to put your work together. Have you sort of modeled yourself and modeled the work that you do from a business sense and sort of check what your target market is, who those people are, so you can maybe better communicate to what they want? And have you sort of, and I mean, some of the things I sort of feel you complaining about, I think are a bit of an advantage to you. We all know stories of very good artists who've gone to producers and studios and got dispossessed of their work through Samru and all sorts of other bodies. But today, publishing is a bit better because of social media and all of those things that you have available. So one, I'd like to encourage you to keep moving in that space, just keep using the tools available to you. I think there's a lot of access that you can get to economic tools and resources just working on your own rather than seeking outside interference. But if you are seeking that, I mean, there's also a lot of bodies. What you're doing is it seems educational based as well. Have you approached people like the NYDA? Have you approached government structures to sort of see if there's collaborations that you can make with those bodies that can get you out there on your own and on your own terms, but with a model that you understand for yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question on the professional side of things also. The having to balance artistry with academia itself becomes a little bit tedious. But, you know, as Confucius said, if you love what you do, you'll never have to work a day in your life. But it's just about time management. Also, in the same resonance with Kanye West, I feel like I am a franchise in myself. So that's why we are approaching it in terms of trying to consolidate different teams, although at the moment it's just the two of us. So the efficiency of work does lag a bit behind because it's just the two of us, and there's many things that has to be done. We would like to put out a minimum of like 5 to 10 videos, not just music videos, but I mean content, educational content, critical discussions, more than that. Distribution wise, I think at this moment we have consolidated that. We have that. We're looking even towards trying to mentor and help other artists when it comes to distribution, because at the end of the day, the reason why mainstream music is at the state of content that it is intellectually is because the average consumer of art and music do not believe in keeping the artists that produce the music nor the industries that disseminate the music responsible for the content that they put out.
You spoke about 9 to 5 lie, you know, and guns, and it made me think very deep about that, how 9 to 5 became a thing for us, whereas we were owners of the land. We're not the 9 to 5ers. So it taxes us heavily on the body, on the soul, and the spirit. We become in debt, perpetual debt, not only to ourselves, our health, but also to our children. 9 to 5 doesn't give us space to be families. You know, I just thought about my mother. We had a very deep conversation about our mothers and a writing exercise with Miss Diana Ferris. And I thought about how she would leave the house at like 5 o'clock and come back at 7. But she was never there. Nobody was there for us, you know, to keep the family together. And it was as if I'm putting food on your table, but something was taken off our souls, our minds, our bonding with our mother to teach us how to get there. This is how you walk. This is how you run. You know, I'm seeing this distortion and this disruption that Bundu has mentioned, and I'm seeing what your work is doing to shift this rhetoric of being in perpetual debt, and to awake, rebuild, deconstruct, going back again to the God, the mother, you know, the Ankh. It speaks visually for me. I thought about how God the mother has been forgotten, how you use language, and language starts there, that, I'm listening to Kera, Sotswa, and I immediately thought of a word, mother tongue. And I thought of how they never say mother tongue, because we are born from God the mother, all of us. So we end up speaking our mother tongues. So you evoked that moment of reconnection with, yet again, with our mothers. Thank you.
So, sure, man. I think I forgot something when I spoke earlier on. And I think as speaking, it came to me. And I think it was also inspired by the question of why hip hop. And I think there are a lot of academic opportunities with hip hop, and especially if we are trying to understand lived experiences of Black people, for example. Because I'm thinking about Tupac, for example, that life. The subversion of it, that already your existence is already premised as a thug, is something that capable of violence. And what he does then, he accepts those terminologies and then makes something positive out of it. And I think that's how hip hop arises, out of nothingness, and then make something positive out of it. And that is disruption as well, because you are disrupting the status quo, the gentleman-like culture. And that is why maybe it's going to be perceived as something that is inherently violent. And also because there was always this stigma around Black people that as soon as you enter an area, be careful of Negroes because you're going to end up being robbed. You understand? So those stereotypes, I think hip hop, that's why I believe there are academic opportunities with it. That it has this opportunity of changing a stigma that is meant to be negative and finding something positive about it. Because I mean, if you think of Uzola, his debut album, Unfriend, he darkened his skin and he calls himself Unfriend. Unfriend, you were there, hardcore thug, man. And then he calls himself Unfriend. And within that album, there's a song, Ati Ghetto, Fabulous. I mean, there's nothing fabulous in the ghetto. So that's why I mean, in hip hop and perhaps even quieter as well, the academic opportunities in which their storytelling, but particularly premised in narrating experiences of Black people. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Budu. He just reminded me of one song. I don't know whether it's from quite a group, but he Madibu saying we can robot. So it's those words when a young woman, Madibu saying, has made herself a robot. You think of a traffic light, at least traffic light, all the lights are, are malfunctioning. How it speaks to us and say, return, don't be Madibu saying. Madibu saying is living a very, dangerous life. So we need better young women. We need better Madibu saying, So that's quite just like hip hop. It tells our story. It's storytelling. It speaks in the language that we understand. And it's very important that we have this kind of conversations with Usmangele, and say, no, there are beautiful positives in hip hop for social cohesion. It may not speak the language of gentlemanly like, but you think of Tupac, how he's supposed to be a thug with a dude that's facing the other way, but he loved and adored his mother. We sing that song, you know, when you miss your mother and everybody will go there and then, ish, yes, ish, you know. So it heals. Not only that it takes us to our euphoric state of love, but it's an agency of change. And once again, what you said, that research by people, it's an epistemology on its own. You know, it could change how we see ourselves, how we become agency. Let's say, call it activism. It's like active activism. It's preventative at the same time. It's warning us. So we give gratitude to your work and this conversation that has begun. Thank you. Anybody? I think we ran out of time and we're gonna need to wrap up.
Yes.
And can you give us the last word? Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you very, very much for the final conversation that happened. And I think even for me, as someone that's stepping into the space of having to rap, not just behind the camera, it is really important for me, as I entered into the space, it was really just to find another medium of expressing myself in a much more vibrant, flowy way, but still capture the audience, you know, capture the audience in the sense of understanding what this form of art can do for our people instead of just mere entertainment. And especially if we think about the visuals, we think especially with Khoi Kemati, if we look at the beginning, there's a scene that has like the impepo, as if like we are cleansing the space from its toxicity, from its masculine ways, but also welcoming a new way of being into the space. We were in a torture chamber, you know, and having to stand there and reclaim what that means now through a medium of hip hop as a form of articulation. Was what was important and stood out for us. And I think also in certain parts, there's one direct line that says, where Stoic says, "Sy dink sy's 'n lani, sy voetsiekie weg." In terms of its rhythmic flow there, it's directed at the statue of Jan Smuts that's still in front of the Visagie Museum, still in front of spaces where we occupy on a daily basis, but we actually need to question, because why? Who are we actually celebrating? What names are we keeping in our spaces without us being aware and conscious of it? So yeah, the Ankh is just also a direct shaking up of, let's understand that our ways of being needs to be aligned with that brings forth life for us, as the Ankh represents a symbol of life and continuity in our spaces and times. PJ?
Yeah, also just to briefly touch on the Ankh, what you said earlier about the balance of, especially the mother god. For us, it's very important, because when it comes to the essence of femininity is very important, because art itself is creation, and creation happens through the medium of femininity. And I've learned through the assistance of Bronwyn forcing me to read bell hooks that the most radical thing we can do in a system where hatred, competition, and aggression are common and normal. This is normalities. If competition, hatred, and aggression are normal, the most radical thing we can do is love humbly and assertively. And I think to close off our session, we would just like to leave you with this one thought. Hip hop teaches us that if culture can be industrialized into subversive obedience, then at the same time, culture can also be remixed and remade into medium of emancipation. So yeah, thank you very much once again to the writing team, writing festival organizers, and to all the other like-minded souls here in attendance today for having us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Prof. See you. Enjoy the rest of the session and the day. Bye-bye. Oh, we can switch on our camera to say goodbye at least. Come on. Okay. Goodbye, everyone, and hello. See you.